everybody, good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be part 2 of my car chronicles. As you can see, I'm getting home from work. I just worked my night shift last night, working as a tech. So in today's video, I really wanted to talk a little bit more about what it is that I actually do as a tech. Because in my last video, I talked more about, or in my part 1 in my car chronicles video, I was talking more about like how I got the job and like the whole process of getting, you know, the job itself. So in this video, I wanted to talk about what it is that I do, and more importantly, I wanted to talk about what a typical night looks like for me. So what a normal, typical night shift is like. Excuse me. So yeah. So starting out, so a typical day working as a PCT, I work on a med-surg unit. And then the unit I work on is a 36-bed unit. And there's usually 3 PCAs at night. And so I have 12 patients that I typically care for. And then sometimes the beds will be empty and starting out in the night. And then in the middle of the night, the ER will send more patients. So usually total is 12 patients. So a typical day, so one of the most important thing that we do as techs is we get vitals. And so we get vitals at 8 p.m., midnight, and 3 a.m. So those are when we do our rounds. And so we do our rounds and we go around and we get our vitals from our patients. And then if patients are diabetic, we also get blood sugars. And so when we get blood sugars, that usually happens at so when we get blood sugars, that usually happens at 8 p.m. and at 3 a.m. So that's like kind of like a typical blood sugar orders. Like that's what we do. And so at 8, we get vitals, blood sugars. Midnight, we get vitals. And then 3 a.m., we get vitals and blood sugars. And so I do that for 12 patients, you know, every night. That's kind of the typical thing. And then other things that we do is we help maintain like telemetry. Like if a patient is on telemetry, we make sure that the telemetry boxes are working and that their leads are working. And so I've learned how to put like telemetry on a patients before, because I do it all the time now. Replace batteries. Telemetry will call you directly and say, hey, your patient in this room, their telemetry isn't working and whatever. And so we'll fix that. And then we also, of course, we help maintain patients' hygiene, making sure that they're clean and helping them go to the restroom. And so, you know, we do all of that stuff in between, you know, our rounds or during our rounds as well. Another thing that we do is we help document I's and O's. So if a patient has a urinal or a Foley, we document the output of urine. You know, and even if the patient has like chucks or briefs or diapers, I guess, or, you know, we still document it in a certain way. It's just different, obviously, because you can't measure. But we document I's and O's. We document like the percentage of the intake of food that they eat for, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all of that. And yeah, and so speaking on Foley care, another thing that we do as techs is we have to clean Foley's with CHG wipes. So CHG is like a chemical that's used. It's used a lot in perioperative procedures, so like for surgery and stuff. But it's used on Foley's to help prevent infections, especially UTIs. And so that's something that we do when a patient has a Foley. We help clean Foley's. Another thing we do, speaking of CHG, if a patient is going down to surgery, we have to help give the patient a CHG bath. And so they use CHG wipes and they have to basically bathe themselves with them. And so while they're bathing themselves, we have to replace all of the linens on the bed. Because otherwise, if they're still on the same linens, then they're still considered dirty. So sometimes patients will have that where patients are going down for surgery, and so that's something that we do. Another thing that we do, and then that's pretty much it. I don't know what else I can think of. But yeah, so with 12 patients, you know, I can have a whole bunch of different stuff going on with 12 patients. And then really we're there to help nurses. So whatever the nurses need, if they need us, they'll call us and they'll say, hey, can you come help me with this patient? Do this or do that, and we'll go. So we're there to support, the nurses and make sure everything goes smooth. And then other things that we do, some minor things, we just help make sure that everything is stocked, everything is tidy and organized, in the patient's room, in the supply room too sometimes. We just, keep everything orderly and clean. And so one of the things that we do is we take out trashes, like in the rooms. There's a bin where people put soiled linens, and so we replace that. And so, yeah, we just keep everything clean. We make sure we, replace things that need to be replaced. Make sure everything is nice and stocked up. And so that everything runs smoothly and everything is neat and tidy. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what we do. I only work one day, so I'm getting my Starbucks. Because I'm planning on staying up for a few hours. That's what I typically do when I work one day. If I was working more than one day in a row, I typically go home and go to sleep. But since I'm PRN and I'm, I only work like one day a week, this is typically like what a typical, post night shift looks like for me. Which is very different because a lot of people, after night shift, they go home and sleep. For me, I stay up for a few hours, just so that I could try to like reset my schedule, like my sleep schedule a little bit. So yeah, this is pretty much what I'm doing. So yeah, for me, like working as a tech, for me, like I have come to really like the night team. Like everyone is super nice, everyone's super helpful. Last night I was a little bit swamped, and so the nurses were like, so one of my nurses was like, oh, I got you, like I got the vitals on my patients, like you're fine, just get their blood sugars. And so like we help each other, and that's the biggest thing. Like I don't care whether you're working med-surg or what. It's all about teamwork, and it's all about helping each other and just making sure everything goes smoothly. Because it does get quite busy. Like it gets quite busy, and sometimes you just really need that support from your nurses. And so it's good communication is really good, and having a good relationship with your nurses is really good. And so, like I said, it doesn't matter where you work. Like just having a good relationship and really good rapport with your team and team members is really important. I'm trying to think of what other things we do, but that's pretty much it, what a typical night looks like. And so for me, what I do is at 3 a.m. I do my last set of rounds. So I get my patient's vitals and blood sugars. And so when I do my 3 a.m. rounds, I take my time. And when I go to every patient's room, I do everything there. Like, I get their vitals, I get their blood sugars. I pretty much knock out everything that I can all at once. You know, vitals, blood sugars, I replace trash, get their trashes out. If the patients want ice water, I'll get them ice water. If they need anything else, I'll give them whatever they need. You know, if they need to be cleaned or go to the bathroom, I can help them do that as well. I, you know, drain out urinals, Foleys, and all of that. And so I do all of those things with every patient at 3 a.m. And so that it takes me a long time. And so by the end, everything's done and I can just kind of like sit and relax for a little while towards the end of my shift. So that way, at the end of my shift, I'm not running around crazy trying to do everything. I just knock out everything. So I'm gonna get my drink. Thank you so much. You too. Alright, so I got my drink. Hopefully they made it right. If they don't make it right, it's fine. Like, I still drink it. It's whatever. Okay. Oh, it tastes really good today. Alrighty. Works really, really good. It tastes really, really good. And I was just thinking about another thing we do. So when it comes to some patients are what we call daily weights. And so with that, you weigh the patient on the bed itself. And so normally when you think about weighing patients, you think about, like, you know, getting the patient to stand on a scale on their own, but a lot of patients can't do that, right? And so there's a thing that we do as techs when we get daily weights is we take out blankets. We have to leave one blanket and one pillow on the bed. And then once we do that, we, you know, push buttons on the bed itself to weigh the patient. And then we stand and we you know, get their weight. And so we write it down and then we chart it. And so that's something that we do sometimes as well for some patients. And so another thing about being a tech, so to be a tech in the hospital, you know, you have to be BLS certified. And so that means, like, in the event that a patient codes, as a tech, the one thing that I could do is do compressions and give oxygen with the little, I don't even know what it's called, but, or to help give air to the patient, you know, in between compressions, right? So when you're BLS certified, that's what you do, right? Like, you do compressions and then another person puts that thing over, I can't even think of it, the name of it, but it's that thing that you squeeze and it, you know, gives air to the patient. And so code blues, something that I've learned is that code blues are actually quite rare. Like, they rarely happen. And I don't know why, but for some reason in my mind, I felt like code blues happen all the time. You know, like, code blues happen all the time, like every night or something like that. But it doesn't. Like, I don't know if it's my floor or I don't know what, but it's like code blues are a rare thing to happen. And so, like, I haven't been in a code blue yet, and I don't know what day I'm gonna show up to work and experience one. I don't know, you know, who knows? But yeah, they happen, and, you know, you just gotta be prepared, I guess, for that. But then again, nobody's ever really prepared for their first time when they go through that. So yeah, that's kind of something that we have to do and be ready for. Another thing. Oh, and so another thing about being a tech, this is really important, obviously. So like I mentioned, one of the most important things that we do is we get vitals, right? And so when we get vitals on our patients, if the vitals are abnormal, like, I guess like extremely abnormal or just abnormal in general, our job is to make sure that our nurses are aware. So for example, if I get a patient's blood pressure and it's really, really high, I'll let the nurse know. Or if the blood pressure is really low, then I'll tell them. If the temperature is really high, I have to make sure that the nurses know. And so anything that's like abnormal, like you make sure that you tell your nurses. If I take a patient's blood sugar and it's really, really high, then I have to let, the nurses know so that they can, take care of their patients, right? So that's something that we do as well. And that's like a really important part of our job, is making sure that our nurses are, aware of what's going on with the patient. And so something that I've learned about being a tech, and especially nursing, like being a nurse as well, nurses have to do a lot of charting. And so they sit and they chart. And so we're doing our rounds and, spending lots of time with our patients. So the nurses are sitting and they're charting and they're giving meds to patients that need it and doing their own thing, as nurses. And so being a tech is very much hands-on, and nursing is still very hands-on, but with nursing, they're coordinating patient care, and making sure that, patients have all their meds and they're taken care of. And, nurses have so much charting that they have to do. And so that's really what they spend a lot of time doing. And then we as techs, like, we do everything else. And once again, like I said before, like, we help each other. Like, if I need help, I'll say, hey, nurse, can you come help me do this or do that? And, they'll come and do that. But yeah, like, working as a tech, it's a very specific role, and being a nurse is a very specific role, and they do intertwine, but yeah, that's like the biggest difference that I've noticed about techs and nurses. So for me, in my experience so far, like working as a tech, while being in nursing school, it's been really great. Like, for me, I feel like my confidence has grown so much. Like, when I first started, I was like super scared and like nervous, but now that I've been on my own and I just go in and do my thing, and I no longer feel like nervous or anxious anymore. When I first started working as a tech on my own, like after I was done with training or orientation, like I was really nervous when I was on my own. Man, I was really nervous, and like I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. But over time, I've learned, and all of the nurses that I have that I work with, they take their time to show me and teach me things, and other PCAs as well. They take the time to show me how to do certain things and teach me how to do certain things, and so I learn. And now it's like I got it. Like I walk into work and I know what to expect, I know what to do, and so yeah, I got it now. So I would pretty much say that I got it now, and so I'm really very pleased and happy with myself, and with the progress that I have working as a tech now. So and so yeah, I know that definitely working as a tech is very beneficial for me. Like later on when I become a nurse, so that, you know, I'll just be very, very well-rounded when I become a nurse. And that's really important, because you have to know basic skills as a nurse on top of everything else that you learn as a nurse and everything that you're supposed to know as a nurse. So yeah, like, all of these skills that I know how to do now are definitely going to help me and serve me very well when I become a nurse. And so it's very beneficial for my career. And so I would definitely recommend anybody, like, if you can find a PRN nursing job, or like tech job, or like a student nurse extern job, something that's really flexible while you're in school, like, definitely go for it. Like, regardless of what the requirements are, like, apply anyways. Like, sometimes, like, I've seen with some positions in some hospitals, they'll have like, oh, you need a certain GPA. Like, just apply anyways, you know? You never know. And so, so yeah, like, definitely look out for jobs like that, like, wherever you live, because you never know that there could be a job position working in a hospital, working in a hospital environment as a tech, that you can do while you're in school. So definitely check that out. Like, look around in your area for that. Other than that, I feel like that's pretty much it for this video. I don't know what else to say. I think I've said everything I could say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for liking this video and leaving a comment. Definitely leave questions if you have any questions. You know, message me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, send me an email if you want to. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I will see you guys next time.